Welcome back, everyone. It's Mr. Vezda here, and I've got another story for you. Each week in Wonders, we will usually listen to three stories. We'll listen to them sometimes at school, sometimes at home, and sometimes both. So, this story is a little different. It's not like our Animals in the Park story, where we had a big book with different pages that had both words and pictures on them. This story is mostly a story for you to listen to. Okay? There's only four pictures. This story has four parts, and each part has a picture. So before we read the story, I want you to look at the picture for the first part of the story and think about if you know what this story might be, because it's a very popular story. And if you don't know what this story might be, I want you to think about what the story could possibly be all about. I hope you have some good ideas in your head. Now, when I look at this picture, I see a, a bunch of ducks, really. And I see a duck that I think could be the mother duck. I see some chicks. And then when I look over here on the left side of the picture, I see a chick that looks a little different. Okay? Now, this story is a very famous story, and it is called The Ugly Duckling. So, we're going to find out what this story is all about. This story is called a fairy tale. Okay? A fairy tale is a story about magical characters. So, in fairy tales, you might see animals acting differently than they do in real life. They might be acting more like humans. So, let's read to find out what makes this duckling right here special. So, like I said, this is our picture for the first part of the story. Now I'm going to read you the first part of the story. So just relax and follow along. Mother Duck sat on her eggs. She waited and waited. Suddenly, something moved. The eggs were beginning to hatch. One by one, the ducklings pushed out of their fragile shells. One by one, the ducklings looked at their mother for the first time. Mother Duck looked at them too. Most of the ducklings were small, yellow, and fuzzy. But one duckling looked different. That duckling was bigger than the others. His feathers were gray, and his neck was long. I have never seen a duckling like you, my dear, Mother Duck said. You are certainly different, but I love you just the same. Okay, let's go back to this picture. And let's remember that three of the ducklings are yellow with their orange beaks, and they look the same. But this duckling over here is different. Okay. Now, before we start the second part of the story, I want you to take a look at this picture. In the background, we see Mother Duck swimming with her ducklings. But look at these frogs right here. Oh boy. This frog is kind of pointing at the ducklings. I wonder what they are pointing at and what they are saying. When I look at this picture, it makes me feel a little sad almost, because it almost looks like these frogs are pointing at the different duckling. Let's read to find out what happens in this part of the story. Follow me, sweet ducklings, Mother Duck said. Then she hopped in the pond, and the ducklings followed. Mr. and Mrs. Frog saw the ducks swim by. The two frogs were the proud parents of new baby tadpoles. Mother Duck's new ducklings are as cute as are tadpoles, except for that last one, said Mrs. Frog. You're right, said Mr. Frog. That is an ugly duckling. Mother Duck led the ducklings away. She did not want the ducklings to hear what the frog said, but it was too late. The gray duckling had heard the frogs. Is it true, Mother? Am I an ugly duckling? He asked. You are beautiful, Mother Duckling said. You are big and strong, and you will surely do well. I am proud of all my ducklings. Don't listen to those silly frogs. The gray duckling wanted to believe Mother Duck, but it was hard. Everywhere he went, the animals reminded him that he was strange. What an odd duck, they said. Oh no. So, that last picture was sad. The frogs were kind of pointing and almost making fun of the strange duckling. Let's see what happens next. Okay, so here we have the duckling, and he's looking up into the sky. Look at these birds. Do these birds look like ducks? Let's go back to the first picture and look at Mother Duck, or even this picture right here. Do these white birds in our newest picture look like Mother Duck? I don't really think so. Why don't we go ahead and listen to the third part of the story and find out? The gray duckling was sad. The other ducklings never invited him to play with them. He was alone. There must be something wrong with me, thought the gray duckling. I do not belong. That night, while the duck family was sleeping, the gray duckling quietly wandered away. He floated down a stream. He saw many new places. He gathered information about other animals and the world around him. But this did not help him. He still felt alone. Then one day, he saw a group of beautiful white swans with long necks flying in the sky. What beautiful birds, thought the gray duckling. If only I could fly away, maybe I could find a home where I belong. The air grew chilly as fall came. Then it was winter. The ponds and streams froze. The gray duckling was often hungry and cold. So these white birds in the sky, we were right. They were not ducks. These are called swans. Swans are different than ducks. They are much bigger and they are white in color. Now I'm going to show you the picture for the fourth part of the story. Here I see a bunch of swans. I wonder what this means for our little duckling. I do not see him in the picture. I don't see Mother Duck, and I don't see the other ducklings. I just see swans. I wonder what that means for our duckling. Let's find out in the last part of the story. At last, winter became spring. One day, the duckling saw several beautiful white swans splashing in a distant pond. They were the same birds with long necks he had seen flying months before. I want to swim and play too, he thought. I don't want to be alone anymore. The duckling stretched his wings. He felt stronger and bigger than before. Without even trying, he flew into the air. It felt wonderful to fly. The duckling flew to the pond, and the white swans gathered around him. I know I am ugly and different, started the duckling. You are not ugly, said one of the swans. You are beautiful. We are here to welcome you. The duckling looked at his reflection in the water, and for the first time he saw that they were right. He was a beautiful white swan, just like them. At last he had found the place where he belonged. Wow, so this story has such a happy ending. If we go back all the way to the beginning and look at the first picture, we can tell that this duckling wasn't a strange, different looking duckling at all because he wasn't even a duckling. He was a swan all along. So when we go ahead and we see the frogs making fun and pointing at the duckling, we know now that this wasn't a duckling. And it's okay that he was different because he was a swan. And even though he was different now at this time, he grew up to be a big, beautiful swan, just like the rest of the swans in the story. So from this story, we learn that we should never, ever make fun of people for being different or not want to be friends with people because they might look or act different than us, just like the swan in the story. Thank you for listening to our fairy tale today. You did a really, really great job being good listeners. Bye, everyone.